Alright, so what I'm pretty much trying to get to is get to the center differential, just swap it out, put a diff locker on there. Let me get this raised up a little bit. So I'm not going to take this off because I don't really need to take that off. All I really need to take off is this 2.5 mil. Alright, so I got that good. Get the diff housing out the way. And you do want to take these off. These are going to be, I believe, a 5.5, I remember. All you gotta do is take those. And you can flip those out the way. If you want, you can take a 2 mil. I'll show you another modification I would do, but just for now, let's go right here. Take this 2 mil out. Take that 2 mil out. Then this pin comes straight out. So you don't need no crazy force on this one. That pin just pulls out. And then you can flip these shocks up. If you want to, you can flip them up, put a pin through this one and a pin through that one. And then 2.0 mil bolt right here. Get those two out the way to get rid of the sway bar end link tension. Then you're going to have a 2.5 mil, 4 of them, going straight into the diff housing. So you got one right here. And what I do is I just kind of take this sway bar and then rock it back and forth. So you got it. Diff housing is off. Put these bolts back in. Just to tidy it up. Sometimes when you move this stuff around, then you come back and you go somewhere, come back, you forget where these bolts go. And it's a pain when you got all these bolts laying around. So now you got the diff housing right there. And I'm going to be replacing this with a lock diff housing. So as you can see, if this wheel was spinning, this wheel stopped, that one would still spin. So what Arrma does is they put a diff locker in here, or they put a differential in there like a car. What I'm going to do is put a diff locker in here. And this differential is from an Infraction running GP5, that's the gear profile 5, and they got GP6, which is for the felony. I believe it runs like 2 different offsets due to front wheels and then the rear wheels, so it's 2 different gear ratios. As well as the Infraction is running a different gear ratio. I believe it's a 43-13. And the Infraction does have a little bit more get up and go, but overall top speed, the Limitless gearing does have a better gear ratio. In this case, I'm going to be using this GP5 gear ratio to show you guys demonstration. So next, I'm pretty much be disconnecting this Arrma D-Safe shaft right here. I believe that one's going to be a 2.0. I'm going to break this one loose by hand due to the Loctite on here. So what's nice about Arrma, and a lot of manufacturers, I believe, are not doing it, is running a pin. And what that pin does is it holds onto the shaft. So you got a pin right there, got that pin out, so I should be able to take this out. Sometimes from manufacturing there's a lot of Loctite, so nothing wants to come apart. So I got that pin out. Give me 1 second. That one's in there for some reason, don't know why. I guess they changed the design on this, but this should be coming out fairly easy. In this case, this doesn't want to come off, so. Alright, so I got this off, just a little bit of prying. I took that bolt fully out just to make sure there's no resistance, and then I'm going to pry right here, and then get that going a little more. Alright, so we got that out. And take my my retaining pin and put it back in. So pretty much what happens is this screws into the plastic housing, that screws into the metal housing. As you can see, there's a bunch of Loctite on there, so that's what was holding it on. Screw that back in so we don't get it all mixed up. And push that pin out. As you can see, GP5 profile, so you don't want to mix those up if you got multiple gear ratios. I'm going to swap these bearings out to ceramic, so get that out of the way. Got that out the way. Alright, so I got these new ceramic bearings. Let's try to find the one that we need. That looks like it. And since we're running all stock on this build, let's find that one. Yeah, that looks like it. So take that. Put that right there. And put these old bearings in here since I'm not going to be reusing them. Pop these bearings in there. So it doesn't really matter on which way you put these ones in, due to it being sealed, but I'm going to take this one and put the face side right here. And these are full ceramic bearings, so you're going to have better rolling resistance versus the stock ones. I believe the stock ones are like, what, ABEC 3s. These ones are ABEC 7 full ceramic. Just want a little tap. Don't hit the bearing interface on that, as well as this one. What I did forget to do is put a drop of oil, so let's do that now. 1, 2, 3. Same thing on this one. 1, 2, 3. "90-degree pick" comes in handy. There you go. Doing this is put the GP5 gear ratio back in here. Got that. Put that back in. That part's pretty much done, so let's get that out the way. And next I'm going to build this Scorched RC Diff Locker to go inside, so I'm going to delete the stock diff housing offset, so let's grab that, pull that out. And on this one we're just going to take these 4 screws off to get to that gear. That's all we need off of this. I believe these are going to be 2.0. There we go. Break that loose. Break that loose. And this is just plastic housing that these screws are going into, so you don't need a lot of speed or force. Scissors out the way. Alright, so we got it right there. Get that out the way. In order to get this off, we're going to have to pry up a little bit. So I'm going to use this 90-degree pick. You can use whatever you want. You just got to get underneath this diff housing spur gear. So let's get that out the way. Next, you'll have a pin right here that's holding this gear on. Get that out the way, and then you can pull this off. We're not going to be using these bearings, so we can get rid of that as well. All I need on this housing is just this portion. So these bolts don't need, since the Scorched RC is going to come with their own bolts, this diff housing bearing can go in there, since we're going to convert to full ceramic, as well as this pin. And these 4 bolts. So next I'm going to take this Scorched RC Diff Locker. Everything comes pre-assembled loosely, so don't go in here and try to throw everything together and then just kind of think that this is tight or that is tight, because these are just pre-assembled. So we got that. Loosen this up. This is going to be a 2.5 mil. Loosen that up. Take that bearing out. It's a good bearing. So this is a 688Z bearing. Really don't know what bearing that is. Didn't really look into it too much, but I'm going to convert this over to a stainless bearing anyway. So let's try to find that bearing. What do we got? One right here. And one right there. To be honest, I don't think we even need this little O-ring. That's just for the stock setup, so I'm gonna just remove that really quick while you are here. I believe that's just to seal the differential fluid from leaking out. And in this case, we're not going to have that issue because we're just running the lock differential. So let's go ahead and remove this. Damn, that screw is, or that diff fluid is pretty sticky. So does this come apart? So I'm going to apply some thread locker onto those threads. I got an instant one as well as a gel one, so today I'm going to just use the instant one. This dries pretty quickly like super glue, so it is made by Loctite. Loctite is everyone kind of reference to, oh, I need some Loctite. Loctite is just the brand name. So this is an instant adhesive by Loctite 425. They do make adhesives, different adhesives. As far as just being a Loctite company, I believe for some reason as an industry we just kind of take Loctite, since they kind of started off on Loctite and kind of ran with that, but they do make other products as well, such as accelerators, lubricants. I'm going to do this by hand because sometimes if you run with the power tool and it sees a resistance, it thinks that it's stopping. Oops. Thinks that it's stopping due to the resistance, and then you get torque bolts. So that one's on that one. So just for example, this is just going into aluminum, but this for some reason was going in a little bit tight. So there's sometimes like shavings that's coming out. And what I've ran into before is if you're using a nut driver or something like that, it tends to want to stop due to seeing a resistance, and then you feel like it's tight when it's not. Things like that. So see how quick those ABEC 7 ceramic bearings spin. And you could run these dry. It's on depending on your setup, what you want to do. Normally I oil them, let them sit. But on this setup I want to try a semi-dry setup. You're just going to pretty much have the bearing in there since it's ceramic. Alright, so next what we're going to do is pretty much take this bolt out. It's 2.5 mil. And I'm using a snap-on brushless nut driver. This is part number CTS861, and it's set at speed 5. It's not too much. I do have the gyro from DeWalt, which is good, but it's kind of bulky sometimes. I'm just used to a pistol grip since I'm using power tools all day. And we are gonna have to probably shim this, but I'm gonna just put it together right now. Let's see what we're working with. So shimming is just reducing slack left and right. You don't want to run them in like I just did, due to potentially cross-threading it. And in this case, we're going to final torque by hand. That's tight. Remove that Loctite. Same thing with this one. And just for comparisons, these do spin pretty good. Same thing with this one. So next I'm going to show you how to put this all back together and go from there on diff shimming.